Hi, folks. I have no friends in retirement. In fact, at my age, I don't know when the last friend I had was because they've moved to other states. They've gone a different direction. Some have gone into their personal hobbies. Some have actually gone into drugs. That's a negative side. Um, some are like me. They're not disabled, but uh, nearly disabled, and we can walk. They and I can walk down the street and back if we're lucky, and go back in the house. We can't take trips anymore. So the best we can do is talk on the phone. The ones that want to talk on the phone, I would call them friends rather than acquaintances because I've known them so long. I've known some since elementary school. So I call them my friends. The ones that I worked with over the years, they don't call. I don't call them. They actually, some of them still working, so they don't want to talk to a retired gentleman. So I'll tell you a couple things off the top of my mind that I haven't even sorted out yet. You can meet friends, but you may have to do it in a non traditional way, which is how I do it. I'll go into Kroger's grocery store and I'll see someone looking at the same product that I'm looking at. Campbell's soup. It could be any flavor, tomato, vegetable, and I'll say this is usually to a woman. What do you find the tastiest of these Campbell soups? And she'll tell me, and I'll say, thank you. Is there anything else you'd recommend that a single guy would be interested in eating that doesn't want to gain weight but wants nutrition? And many times these women will say, yes, let me take you. Let me take you to the areas at Kroger's that I go to. And I'll say, that's wonderful. I can eat that. And then I'll say, do you eat alone or do you have a family to eat with? And this is where it works. If she says, I live by myself, my husband died so many years ago, or even I've never been married, I say, would you like to come over and join me for coffee sometime? Why don't you walk me over to the coffee aisle and tell me which coffee you like best? That's how you do this. And she'll tell you, and then I'll say, well, you know, I'm alone myself, and if you'd like to join me for coffee and snacks, let's go over to the snack department and see what you like. Pastries, coffee cakes, milk, and we'll get together tomorrow or the next day. Did you know I've never been turned down on that? It's not because I'm so daggone good looking. I wish I was. I'm not what you would call a freak, but with me talking this way, she believes that I'm a kind person. I hope you believe I'm a kind person. And that's how we started. That's how we start a friendship. At first, it's an acquaintance at Kroger's, and I'm shifting it to a friendship. It becomes a friendship if it occurs more than a few times. Okay? It may not work the first time with the first person you try, but try a lot. Try a lot. The more people that you approach and ask what they like to eat for breakfast or lunch or dinner, you get into a conversation that is an acquaintance. And then after a few, if they come over, after a few meetings, if you want to call them meetings, it switches over slowly to a friendship. Okay. I hope you think that that's not too forward. I have many other ways to meet people too. Let me just mention, if I go to a church, for example, and I see a lady sitting by herself, I might say, is it okay if I sit here next to you? And most often, because they're lonely or they'd be with someone, they'd say, yes, please do. Now you're talking about a different type of style of meeting a person. It's harder after the sermon's over, or maybe during a break during the sermon, You might say, have you been coming here to this church for a while? Yeah. Well, this is my first time here, and I was just wondering what you thought about it, what you thought about the preacher, what you thought about his sermons. What do you think? You think this is a good church to come back to? She said, yeah. I say, well, I notice you're not with any family members. Are you here because nobody in the family will come to church with you, or are you here because people passed away that you knew and you still come to this church? You go from there. She'll say, well, my husband died so many years ago, and my sons, they're scattered around the country. I said, okay. I understand that very well, because I'm in a similar situation. And I'll say, well, it's noon now. I was thinking about where I was going to eat. Would you be interested in joining me just to eat? And it's on me. Well, most of the time the answer is yes. And then the acquaintance can turn into a friendship. Now, those are just two examples. I can tell you a third one that I really thought was neat. I'm in a bookstore. I think it was Barnes & Noble. This girl comes up to me. She looks directly at what books I was looking at. She says, do you like that author too? You like that writer also? I said, yeah, do you? She said, yeah. She says, there's a coffee bar over there in this Barnes & Noble. Why don't we go over there and have a coffee and actually discuss this author and why you like him and why I like him? And so there's an acquaintance. Then afterwards you would say, since we like the same subjects, could we exchange phone numbers? We're still at the acquaintance. Yeah, absolutely. So I get her phone number. She gets my phone number. And then after a day or two, one of us will call each other and say, why don't we get together and down there at some fancy restaurant and keep talking about this author or other authors? And I said, well, I love to do that. I'm glad you love to do it too, because I don't find many people that would discuss different authors and writers with me. Well, that can lead to something else too. Now, I'm sharing this because there's so many lonely people that don't know how to meet people. I only gave you 3. I gave you 3 that works. And I hope you will write to me and tell me if it works for you. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like. I don't ask people to subscribe. I'm not, I'm only wanting to share my thoughts, okay? But if you want to subscribe, if you want to say some comments, I will read them. And let me say, it takes me a while to respond to different comments, so forgive me for that. Now, thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk later. You take care, and God bless you.